really cares about is numbers. They don't care about the issue. They care about numbers, and they care about accusations, and they care about personal attacks. Bernie Sanders needs numbers. So if he can say, from this event tonight, he got another 100,000 volunteers, that will make the news. His name will be in the news. People will see Bernie Sanders' name. That will be covered and analyzed, and then that will get people energized and motivated, and it will also make people think, oh, every time they see that, maybe this guy has a chance. Maybe I could vote for this guy. Because one of the things that we have to overcome as a movement is the doubt that the media imparts upon the masses about Bernie Sanders. And that's why we have to get out there and get his name out there. And I've talked to the campaign, and they talked about they're going to contact you for canvassing and going door to door. And I'll see you when you're doing that with me in January, and we'll all, say, we're going to work for Bernie no matter what. It's 10 below zero. But what we're going to do now, when it's not 10 below zero, is we are going to start organizing to do some local work and local events. Because the bottom line is, let's think about it. You can throw some numbers at me. If you went out in the street right now in Ukrainian village, and you said just 100 people, 100 random people, and said, have you heard of Bernie Sanders? How many people do you think you get to say, I've heard of Bernie Sanders out there? How many do you think, honestly? Just throw some numbers out.
10.
30.
Yeah, I'm hearing between 10 and 30. That's what I think. And I know that's right, actually, because I poll my patients all the time when we're talking about healthcare, which I'll talk about in a moment, in a way to introduce people to Bernie Sanders from your own specific interest or your own specific passion. So, yeah, the problem with Bernie Sanders, the media would like you to think, like everybody to think, and we know better, the problem with Bernie Sanders is, oh, he's so far out to the left, oh, 2% of African Americans want to vote for him, oh, he had 96% of white people he represented from Vermont. They'll give all these stories and all these lines to marginalize Bernie Sanders. Well, what I know is, and what I think many of you might know, is if you tell somebody any of the platforms that Bernie Sanders stands for, I haven't had anybody disagree yet. I haven't had one patient tell me when I say, that we need to do something about the fact that you can't afford your medication, and your co-pays to see me are now $50, even though my visit's only $65, but most of my patients' co-pays have gone up to $50. A new visit, they're paying $100. The visit only costs $125. So what is that insurance doing for them? It's doing nothing. And if they want the insurance companies to stop telling me what I cannot prescribe for them because it's too expensive, and they have to get a generic, or there may be no alternative, or they're going to have to pay $300 and figure out what they're going to do for that month, and I say, we need a Medicare for All plan, where people like me who are working pay into it already, pay a certain percentage, people who aren't working don't, the elderly don't, and we pool all of our resources and unite Americans together to provide health care for each other. Nobody said that sounds crazy yet. Everybody says, oh, that's a good idea. Why haven't we heard about that? Why haven't I thought of that? And I said, because nobody wants you to hear about it, because it doesn't make any money for anybody else. It doesn't make money for the health insurance industry. It doesn't make money for the pharmaceutical industry to have Medicare for all. They'll be getting less money. Some physicians may be getting less money. So what? They can sell their house in Steamboat Springs. That's okay. The bottom line is that if you go out there and you share, honestly, the platforms of Bernie Sanders, you will get people on board. And so what we're going to try to do, and as you can see, as Bernie Sanders would say, in case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of people here, and there are, all you people showed up tonight. You came out. We have all these people here. There's 100,000 people meeting across the nation. That's not all the Bernie Sanders supporters there are. That's just the people who came out to these meetings, and that's very impressive. So, what? Yes, sir.
I want to introduce you a little bit. I want to tell people a little bit about the guy that put together this evening tonight. My friend, Dr. Barry Kaufman, passionate, knowledgeable person about the Democratic Party in general and about Bernie Sanders in particular. And I know Barry socially, and he said, I'd like to talk to you about this Bernie Sanders guy. And he started talking. He started convincing me about Bernie Sanders.
And he was wearing his Hillary Clinton T-shirt.
and he started talking to me about this. And Barry started a Facebook page. It's under groups on Facebook called What Would Bernie Sanders Do? And he has 800 followers of that group. We're going to grow that. And then he said, Darren, you're an audiovisual guy. I'd like to do a podcast called What Would Bernie Sanders Do? And we now have a podcast that's What Would Bernie Sanders Do under iTunes. And so you'll hear in depth some of what Dr. Kaufman has to say about the details of Mr. Sanders, Senator Sanders' platform.
Yes.
But Barry kicked us off, very knowledgeable gentleman, and so he has a few words to say about Bernie. And by the way, some of the things he's talked about, the 12 Bernie Sanders platform items that you need to keep in mind are on this page. You can go to the links on this page and you can find those platform topics.
Have any of you noticed that Darren's trying to make me focus? So that's a subtle way of doing it. Thank you, sir. Yes, so first of all, obviously you need to volunteer with the campaign. Second of all, I just want to ask a few people out here randomly. If you went up to somebody in the street, or you went up to somebody at a street fair, you went up to somebody at a music fest, or you got a Bernie shirt on, you got a few brochures, and you want to introduce them to Bernie Sanders, because after all, that's what we have to do. You've got to make people aware that Bernie Sanders is out there. They have to hear his name, so that when they see him on the news or see him somewhere, they'll actually know that he's running for president. So, what is something that you would say to somebody if you were going to go up there and say, hey, did you know about Bernie Sanders? What is something you would use to introduce him to appeal?
The first thing you'd say.
The first thing you would say to them. Yes.
Free college university studies. I'm a college professor, and it breaks my heart.
You know what? You said exactly what you should say. The thing you want to do is try to think of something personal, something that hits you about Bernie Sanders. We all have something probably. For me, it's the healthcare thing. That's how I can introduce it to people. Yes, go ahead.
I have to hire, or I'm in the position where I hire teachers to work in my program, and they have such an amazing burden. They have $150,000 worth of debt, and I can only offer them adjunct positions. It's sickening.
Yeah, that'll take them, about 50 years to pay off until their retirement. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Who else?
Anybody else? Yes.
The only candidate that's addressed systemic racism.
Amen to that. Now, you're absolutely right. Another candidate has addressed it in a very clumsy way. But Bernie Sanders is the only one who will address it. The only one who will address it with policy ideas, with concrete ideas right away. He comes out, he's not saying, oh yeah, we have to love each other, we have to get together, Martin Luther King did this. Well, we all know that. That's
developing policy right now, though.
Pardon?
He's developing policy.
Exactly, but he's still giving ideas. He's giving specific ideas of the maladies that have to be addressed. Nobody else does that. I mean, as soon as something is happening, he's coming out with ideas. I mean, policy, you can argue about the word, but he still has concrete ideas. You can say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Demilitarize the police. That's a great idea, Get police in the community so they actually know people's names, in these communities. That's a good idea. Yes, anybody else?
Yeah. Not as the only candidate that won't run a negative campaign. He's maybe the only politician that I know that has never run a negative campaign.
He won't be negative.
Fresh
No.
air.
You know what? If you saw him on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, and Chuck Todd was trying to get him to say something about Donald Trump, he won't do it. He won't play that game because all you're going to hear is Bernie Sanders says Donald Trump is just another billionaire or something, and they would not even talk about his issue. And who cares? If you'll notice, on my Facebook page, I don't publish anything about the Republicans. Because you know what? That doesn't even matter right now. Bernie Sanders will beat any Republican that he comes up against. We don't even have to talk about that. Right now, it is primary season. Right now, there is one candidate that Bernie Sanders is up against. I am not in favor of posting things on a Facebook page that says shillery and corporate shill. That doesn't do any good. That just creates hostility. But certainly it is fair to point out, I just put up an article that was excellent about, I forgot who did it, but I put it up on our site today, about Hillary Clinton equivocating regarding the Keystone Pipeline. That's a great example, where she says, well, when I'm president, and we'll see what Barack Obama is, I'll let you know. That is not leadership. That is not progressivism.
I'll let you know later.
Yeah, you don't
what
see
I
how
think,
things go.
Yeah, depending on my corporate overseers,
Yeah, no, depending on Keystone lobbyists that are in our campaign. So that is fair game. These kinds of things are fair game. To contrast her with Bernie Sanders, I believe is fair game. But I don't think personally attacking her will get you anywhere. There's plenty of reality in the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that can be used honestly and frankly, and I think it makes the point. And in fact, you know what? I think the point doesn't have to be as forcefully made. I think she's making it for herself. And I think that people are starting to catch on, and that's why Bernie Sanders is catching on. So if we can get the information out in a positive way, that is our best bet, definitely. Anybody else have anything they would say to somebody? Yes, please.
Bernie Sanders is for we the people. He's been for we the people since the 60s, and he can win.
Yep.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. Absolutely true. And I agree with that. Yes.
I think it's really important what Bernie Sanders has said, that right at the end, he says, I can't do this by myself. This is going to take a movement. And I think, because I'm on Facebook, I have a lot of friends who are further to the left than I am. That's difficult. And, they're seizing on every bad move that Bernie Sanders ever made. But it's not about the candidate, actually.
Right.
It's about, can we build an organization that can take on billionaires?
Absolutely.
Fortunately,
Amen.
Bernie Sanders
What
has
would it
made
take
very,
to win free tuition. How do we set up a million student march to get to free tuition? So I think that's where the conversation should be. What will it take to get these things?
That's why we're here. And that's what we're going to talk about in one moment. I
fortunately,
agree.
he's done very, very few things you can point to at all. One thing, this is a very good suggestion from one of our folks here. Everyone should post on Facebook to text work to 82623. You talked about if you can get 3 people to text the word work to 82623, put it right on Facebook. Hey everybody, put this on Facebook, text work to 82623.
And one thing I'd like to say, you made a great point, I'm going to follow up on that. We're here, we all love Bernie Sanders, we're preaching to the choir. We're here to get people who are not aware of Bernie Sanders to be aware of Bernie Sanders at this stage of the game. I believe that's an important thing. Do you agree? You all agree with me that really is one of the things that we have to do right now, is to get his name out there. That's the enemy. The enemy is the media doesn't want to cover him. It's not making them revenue.
Why not?
Because they're not going to get $2 billion of advertising revenue from him. So that's one of the reasons. He's also very extreme. So
Well, they say he is.
I got it. So what we're going to do is the following. We have people from all over the Chicago area and the suburbs here tonight. And what we want to do, and again, I contacted the campaign about this, and they said, please go for it. So through our Facebook group, and if you're not on Facebook, it is fine. I'd like you to fill out one of these Volunteer for Bernie forms, but I'm doing an off-Facebook form, where we're going to contact you directly and get people together with you. We are going to start organizing for our members and Bernie supporters to go out to local events and start talking about Bernie Sanders. And what I want to stress to you, and I emailed the campaign about this, is I said, you guys are going to do the organizing and you have to have a big organization, they don't have the money and all this, but this does not take a lot of money. It does not take a lot of time. How many of you would spend 6 to 8 hours a month for Bernie Sanders? How many? Okay, I think, yeah. Some people here already do. We've got some people from the People for Bernie Sanders website. It's an excellent website. You all should join up with that. It's a great grassroots website, and they're doing so much great work. And in fact, we have some printable things from them on here I'll discuss in a moment to distribute. But what we're going to do, I want you all to come to our group. Facebook is a wonderful tool. Not to show everybody my tofu stir fry. Not to show my kids on their Disney cruise, not that we're going on one. But it's a great tool because somebody can say, you know what, I'm going to go to the Latin Music Fest this weekend. Anybody out there want to go? You get a notification. You say, hey, you know what, I'll go with you. You don't have to go there for the whole day. You go out there you print out 20 brochures at home or these little flyer things that we have there. You can print those online. You take them out to an event. You stand there for 2 or 3 hours with 2 or 3 people, and you know what? If you've connected with 10 or 20 people, what if those 10 or 20 people are really into Bernie Sanders, and they tell a friend about it, or they post something on Facebook? All of a sudden, it's an explosion. So that's why you need to increase awareness, and we're going to do it through our Facebook page. I want you to sign up to our Facebook page. I want you to use that. And I'm going to start the ball rolling. But the thing we have to do is sort of get away from some of these things that happen sometimes in our culture where, oh, I'm going to do this, but I don't know if I want to go there with this person, and I'm not sure I'm going to get along with that. Can't have any of that. It doesn't matter. We're all in the same boat. We're all united. We all have the same goal, so it doesn't matter. You have to get out there with that person, and all you have to do is introduce Bernie Sanders. What I usually say is, would you be interested in voting for a candidate who takes money just from us, who publicly funds his own campaign and doesn't take money from billionaires and corporations? Well, everybody said yes to that, and I go, well, here he is. He's running right now.
Not for sale.
Not for sale. And when I do that, nobody is aware that he's doing that by himself on an island. That's such an important point that I think right away appeals to people, that we the people, have the say, because we're paying his way. We're paying for his campaign. He's answerable to us, so we can make that clear to people. Some of the things that other people said out here are a great way to introduce it. If you have something personal you're passionate about, that you like about Bernie Sanders, that's a great appeal. So what I'd like you to do is go to the Facebook page. There, at the bottom of the page, there's a couple of links. There's a link to the City of Chicago farmers markets. Farmers markets are great places to make connections with people, because you know what people are doing there? They're hanging out. A lot of those people aren't exactly in a rush. They're going to the park with their kids. They're doing this. They're going to buy, so that's a great place to connect with people. They're actually interested, I found, and when I wear my Bernie Sanders, not for sale shirt, that's the most discussion I've ever had, is walking around a farmer's market. I can't even get a crepe, because seriously, because people go, not for sale, what does that mean? And I tell them, and then we're talking for 10 or 20 minutes. In fact, the guy who makes the crepes at the Wicker Park Farmer's Market talked to me for 20 minutes about Bernie Sanders. He's from France. He couldn't stop talking about it. So that's all we have to do. It's not that complicated. It's just communicating with others. You put on there, and I'm going to start the ball rolling soon. I'm going to say, I'm going here. Anybody want to go with me? You don't need 20 people. You don't need 30 people. You need, I'll go myself. I don't care. You need 2 or 3 people. And we have also a list on Thrill List down here. There is a comprehensive list of events in Chicago. I mean, this list is, hundreds of events in Chicago. Everything from art fairs to music fests. So if you look at that, and there's one that you want to go to in your backyard or your neighborhood, say, oh, I'm going to this, somebody want to go with me. Now, for those of you who are further out, that's actually even of more benefit, because I'm going to ask you have somebody from Lake in the Hills, we have people from the suburbs, or from further out, I'm going to ask you to send me through the group some events out there. We have right now about over 300 members from the Chicago area. We're going to have more. And they're some probably in your area. So you need to get together with some of these people. We'll help you to hook up with these people so you can get together and start populating these events. And again, the campaign love this idea. They don't have the resources yet to get this going, but I think, you know what, I think we do. I think most of us are on social media. If you're not, I can help you network, that's fine. But I think we need to start doing something now, because if Bernie Sanders' name is not out there,
all bets are off.
Yeah, you can tell them anything you want. You can say how great he is and go, vote for Bernie Sanders, and they'll go, oh yeah, I love his chicken, I got that once, by the way. It's Bernie Sanders, yeah, that's crispy, yeah, that's good, he's been around for a while. So that's not a joke, actually. Somebody actually said that. So that's what we have to overcome. So, now, in terms of information to distribute, the campaign doesn't have it, and right now. And in fact, I didn't even get the official.
You mean they don't have brochures? They have information.
They have information online. You can go to their site and get all of Bernie's platforms, all of his history, and his Congress and all that. But they don't have materials to distribute yet. And again, they don't have the resources at this time to even print. Like I said, if they could send me 5,000, they can't do that at this time. Yes, Jeff?
I want to say that a bunch of people have been making stuff on Reddit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff they've made that you can print out and distribute.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great point. I don't have that on here. Reddit, R-E-D-T-I-T. There's a lot of good things on
We need to
Reddit.
be able to put this on the web.
We are going to
There's
put
a
this
thing
on
on
the
Scribd. There's a thing on Scribd that's a bunch of flyers you can print out that are part of this. So we need to get this on a web page. You can click on the link.
We'll click on the link, but we'll add Reddit to that too, because that is a great point, actually.
Get one of these if you haven't.
They do have some good stuff. And, again, you don't have to be a printing press. Print 20 or 30 or 40 and go out to an event. You don't have to give everybody one either. If somebody seems really interested, give them one.
Someone's from France and making crepes.
Exactly, So this is what we need to do. We have links here for the distributable material. And another person brought up about voter registration, and of course that's very important. And we're going to be working on that as well, having some links to get people set up so we can make sure everybody is set up for voter registration. More of an issue in certain states that are a little dicey about that. Here in Chicago, in the metropolitan area, or even the suburbs, we're a little better on that. But we still have to make sure that people are registered to vote, and they have to be registered to vote Democratic. Obviously, Bernie Sanders did the Democrats a favor by changing from independent to Democrat.